Hey everybody, another day, another part system. This is from the computer work store, and you guys are going to be in for a big surprise of what's inside this system, or what's left of it anyway. It's just a case, motherboard, processor, and card reader. $14.99, and this is actually, I pretty much would consider a series of really good deals from the computer work store. Last time I was there, they had a bunch of systems marked down, or just a bunch of systems marked at $14.99. I actually got another system to present today, but I'll do it in a separate video. This is actually a custom built system. It's not very often that I do actually get retail part systems in. When I mean retail, I mean systems that are custom built with retail parts and not OEM brand systems. So this will be more interesting to look at. This thing has retail written all over it. Or at least when we get a look inside, you'll know for sure. It's a mid-tower case. Notice it's pretty big, just like mid-tower Lux. Same size case. Get you a look at the back. Have a look at that motherboard. This will give you sort of an idea of what we're dealing with here. And this one only has one PS2 hookups. I pretty much can say this one has Dell syndrome. So I'm not sure if it's going to work with my KVM switch or not. Hey, look at this. Look at that heatsink. Does that give you a clue? Let's continue looking. Kind of a basic M motherboard. Well, not really. When you compare it to some I've looked at before. This one is actually loaded with ports. Got lots of USB headers. 6 SATA hookups. This one has a floppy and a MID. So it's not 100% brand new, but it's not that old either. 24 pin ATX connector there, 4 pin ATX connector there, for your CPU power, 2 DDR-DIMM slots, PCI Express video card slot, and PCI Express ×1 slot. And over here we have HD audio, 2 PCI slots, SPDIF/IO, where you can actually hook up something right there. Again, on the back we have VGA and DVI, so we possibly have some pretty decent onboard graphics. The motherboard actually has a parallel hookup on it. It's not very often you find that anymore on at least newer motherboards. But the big thing is what's under that heatsink. I'm not telling you guys yet. You know, and I believe I'm going to just give this video a generic title. I'm not going to tell you guys exactly what we have here just yet. So let me go ahead and plug this cooling fan back in if I can find the header on the board. It's over here. Kind of strange. Usually that's where your system fan is located at. Let's verify. Alrighty, so let's go and get a power supply and some memory for this thing. Okay, everybody, I decided to go ahead and take the motherboard out of the case, since I am scrapping the case anyway. For various reasons, the case is pretty dinged up on the inside. Things are like bent and stuff. So I decided to just scrap the case and keep the motherboard, processor, and the card reader. So anyways, we got the motherboard sitting here on the desk. Got a power supply hooked up. And here's the moment of truth. You guys are going to get to find out what kind of processor this board has installed. And by the way, this is one reason why I always like HP's cases, is because when I scrap HP systems that don't work, I can take this out, and it's a very handy little piece that has the hard drive LED, power LED, and power switch all in one. So anyways, it's going to power it on. This thing's so fast. Okay, I'm gonna readjust my camera. Try to get you a screenshot of that post screen so you can see what kind of processor we have. Hit the pause key real quick. Didn't even show the information this time. Let's keep trying. I gotta shut it off and then power it back on. Here's our CPU. AMD Phenom 9950 quad-core processor. I told you guys it's a nice CPU. So yeah, for $14.99 we get this nice gigabyte motherboard and a Phenom 9950 processor. It's not a Phenom 2, but still, it's a nice CPU. I mean, for the price anyway. So that being said, let's go ahead and go into the motherboard's BIOS setup utility and have a look at things. And of course, this is a retail motherboard, so it should have more features. I'll come back to this in a moment. That's for overclocking features. And of course, here's your standard CMOS features, advanced BIOS features, virtualization, all that stuff, boot settings, boot device priority. A few things I'm curious of here. See if this has RAID. Yes, we have RAID and AHCI. Now, I believe this motherboard has an AMD chipset. We have Smart LAN, which of course I didn't know what that was, so it's like trying to detect something. I only have LAN plugged in. Yeah, what this does, it can tell you cable length, which I think is pretty neat. But of course, there's no cable plugged up, so it's going to report like 0 meters. Try to get out of this. There we go. Onboard audio, USB EHCI controller. USB keyboard support. Yeah, I'd hope it would have that. USB mouse support. Also hope it would have that, seeing there's only one PS2 port. Power management setup. Pretty typical here. Plug and play PCI configurations. You can set RRQs here or leave it auto. PC health status. CPU's running a little warm because the CPU smart fan features turned on, so CPU fan's not running wide open. Which really it should be set to off because these AMD coolers have built-in thermistors on the fans. Now for the motherboard intelligent tweaker. It's a neat feature on gigabyte motherboards. Now let me go and look at the CPU. This may be a Black Edition processor, I'm not sure. Yes guys, this is a Black Edition processor. So for $15 we got a system with a Phenom Black Edition processor. This multiplier, well, that's your hyper-threading link there. I mean hyper-transport link. My buddy Tim used to get that mixed up too. So CPU clock ratio, it is unlocked. I can set it to whatever I want. I think this will be a keeper system here. You can set your little bridge frequency. It's auto, and it appears to be like a multiplier works. Yeah, multiplier. Host clock control, auto or manual. Let's hit manual, see what we get. Leave it auto. Oh, I see what it does. It enables you to change this value here for overclocking. And of course, the PCI Express is independent from the CPU clock. VGA core clock. You can actually mess with the onboard VGAs. Clock frequency. It's amazing here. Here's where you can set the memory clock, change the voltage for memory, CPU Northbridge VID, CPU voltage control. This is a nice little motherboard. Anyways, I figured before we end, let's get you one more look at that motherboard. So yeah, this part system is definitely amazing, because not only does it have a quad-core CPU, but it's a retail system, so it has a retail processor and retail board loaded with features. Not some, this ain't some OEM HP or, you know, something like that. Normally what I do in these videos, this is actually a nice motherboard. 6 SATA hookups, tons of USBs. I mean for a micro ATX board, this is pretty nice. I'll definitely say this is a keeper. So yeah, definitely an amazing purchase there. So anyways, any questions or comments, feel free to ask, and thanks for watching.